Hello. I want no judgment of the way that I appear today, mostly because, I can see myself right now and I look haggard. I did not sleep very much last night, but that is not a reason to step away from source. We have work to do. So I hope that you are comfortable and ready for us to get into these energies this week. A lot of changes. A shift in potentiality. What do we have on the horizon in the next week and a half? We have Mercury going direct eventually. Literally, not this coming week, but the week after. We'll also have Mars going direct at that point too, mid-November, or somewhere thereabouts. Time is a blur, as we've said many times before. I'm just gonna have to go with the flow on this video. I apologize if I seem a little disjointed, but my intellectual brain is not really fully functional, which is why I'm dressed like I'm some kind of sea urchin monk or something. What was I talking about? Oh, the astrology. Well, there's not actually a lot of major new influences astrologically, so there's some little sextiles here and there, some kind of nice energy that we can just ease our way into. So the good news about that is that my video probably won't be an hour long today. For those of you that find it difficult to concentrate for that long, I know that it is a commitment to watch these videos. I have to take my glasses off. I'm looking down my nose like a school marm. What can I say? The format of my videos is just the way it is. It serves its purpose, it serves me, and it's the way I'm guided to do it. So however you want to watch it or whatever you can get out of it is entirely your individual experience. But that said, I'm hearing a lot of complaints from people in general in life about everything in their lives. And I'm going to say one thing to you right now that could trigger the fuck out of you, and that is, if you are in whiny complaining mode right now, you're not getting it. Because you have no reason to be whiny and complaining. So, get over it. Shut the fuck up. I don't care. I'm not interested. No one else is. We've all had to do the work. We're all moving past things. Tough love. Tough noises outside from the neighbors. Why am I so harsh? I don't know. It's just the feelings that I'm getting right now. I know that there is a real split in the timeline right now for people. And many of us that have been doing all of this work are long overdue for some form of, I guess you could call it karmic reward, but I suppose it's more the idea of just leveling up in function of the lessons that we've learned and all of the hard work we've been doing on ourselves. So, expectation can be our greatest enemy, but at the same time, we also have to find the fine balance with trust. Trusting the divine path, trusting that everything is exactly as it is intended. And complaining is to be out of alignment with the flow of the universe. It's not being in acceptance, right? And resistance is the major hurdle of all hurdles in terms of our spiritual practice. I don't know what I'm supposed to say about vulnerability, but a lot of it has to do with vulnerability. Can we make ourselves vulnerable? Can we trust ourselves enough to receive while being vulnerable? Trusting in ourselves as much as in the divine power that guides us. These are underlying directives for the week ahead. We've moved on from the astrology, right? Yes, we have. Done with that for this week. I actually can't take another moment of self-awareness through astrology right now, as much as it's an important tool. Sometimes the universe kind of just offers these periods in the cosmos where it's like you just go with it. You go with the flow, no matter what it is. You accept it. You don't try to prognosticate. Is that like a word? I don't even know. I swear to God, my brain is literally mush right now. I go with that because you know what? If my brain's mush, it means that I'm probably more receptive to the flow that comes through me. So hopefully it will make sense. If not, you can just laugh at me, right? I guess that's a form of being vulnerable. Why are these so long? I bought this hoodie, and look at how long these are. You can't probably tell, but it's sort of purple. It's like you really wanted to know about my fashion purchases. But it was like $20 on Amazon. I digress. Okay, get back in the flow. Ooh, what do we have to discuss this week? Okay, let's start with our Sacred Destiny Oracle card. Potential. Very interesting because it's the first card that I pulled, and honestly, it's sort of it really is what everything is about right now. It's about maximizing the potential of all the work that we've done. All of the planets are actually lining up to finally push us forward in some shape or form. Again, remember that this is different for everyone. It can be in a different realm. It can be professionally for some. It can be emotionally for others. A lot of it is going to be about moving beyond trauma programming. And having the opportunity to finally move forward in our external existence, freed from the chains of the devil and carried by the integration of the lessons learned, the karmic resolution. So what does potential say? Okay, volcano at rest. I didn't even pay attention to that image, but there you go. Of course it's a volcano at rest. What is wrong with me? Volcanoes erupt in places where the Earth's plates meet and where there are cracks through which lava emerges, either explosively or by flowing more slowly down a cinder cone. Even when a volcano is at rest, there is always the possibility of a huge eruption. There is the potential of great power. There are very few things on this planet more commanding than an erupting volcano. The archetypal personality of a volcano is one of a wild, unpredictable, and formidable energy. The sacred landscape wants you to know that this card appears when you are ready to activate your potential and step into your strength. This is the time to activate those gifts that you've had on the back burner in your life. You have incredible untapped potential. This is the time to allow it to flow. An inner wellspring of power is emerging. You have a profound spiritual power that is deep within you. Do not doubt your great authority and capabilities. A dormant volcano might indicate that you have uncomfortable emotions that you're repressing or keeping inside, thus creating emotional stress and inner pressure. It can also mean that you are on the verge of a great expansion of energy and life force. Well, thank you, card, for summing up exactly what I was trying to say in my mumbling earlier. But that pretty much says it all about the energies that we're facing, and they are so radically different from what we have been in for the last, I'd say, 2 months. We also got a change in the wind. I don't think I even really need to read this one, but further corroboration of that shift in energies. And then 2 spirit animal oracle cards came out, glued together. Snake spirit and ant spirit. Time to heal and time to collaborate. Snake spirit came out on top, so that's the message that I'm going to read, number 55. I think time to collaborate speaks for itself. It's the externalization, again, of our inner process, so it's time to do that somehow, whatever's going on in your life. So what does snake spirit have to say? All of us need healing at times, and when snake spirit appears, it's time to repair, renew, and replenish yourself in your vulnerable heart. I'm just going to preface that I'm reading both the upright message and the protection message, but I do believe that this is meant as the protection message, so we'll get to that in the second part of this reading. Me reading, that's what I'm trying to say. Again, pay me no mind, I'm not making much sense. Listen to the words, that's all. Self-care and maintenance work are needed so that your vitality can arise. Give yourself the space to nourish your own well-being. Vulnerability is necessary for friendships and partnerships to work, which means, oh, well, there you have it again, vulnerability. See, it's crazy how these things come together, isn't it? Vulnerability is necessary for friendships and partnerships to work, which means all of us will have tender emotions at times. Be gentle with yourself and others now. Shed the past and step into a new way of being, for vitality is rising in you. This might be a good time to honor the work you have done to heal, grow, and repair any damage within yourself, within those you care about, and within your community. Celebrate together how far all of you have come in your healing journey and all that you have created. Unburden yourself of anything that no longer supports wellness, prosperity, positive relationships, and well-being, and open the door for healing to occur. Well, maybe I'll change my mind and I'll go with the upright message, because that pretty much does speak to it. But I guess depending on where we're at and on our path, the protection message might also apply. And there's sort of 2 sides of the same coin, right? No matter how much you may have lost or how you may have been disappointed, you are called by Snake Spirit to shed the past and practice radical self-acceptance now. Only by forgiving yourself can you move on, regardless of whether anyone else is ready for healing. When your tender new skin first becomes exposed, you may feel uncomfortable. Love yourself and remain vulnerable anyway. You have been weak, but now you are becoming strong and developing wisdom, and you will do better in the future. Snake Spirit reminds you that hearts can be so easily wounded. Apologies and amends go a long way. Self-forgiveness for your role in what happened can heal you entirely. Remember, it is the one who has been wounded who often has the greatest power to help others to heal. Again, this is so much about taking that inner progress and externalizing it into a tangible reality. And I mean, I just think that those cards all speak for themselves, and essentially we don't need to do the rest of the reading. Bye. I'm kidding. I am kidding. The cards are already pulled, so you're stuck with me. Okay, so what are we coming out of in our past energy? Yuck. But makes sense, right? The Nine of Swords clarified by the moon. So the Nine of Swords, we know, these are all thoughts. Those are the things that keep us up at night, that prevent us from being at peace with our choices, where we're contemplating worst case scenarios. We're not really understanding how this is self-created chaos. And, you know, I would say that a lot of this is indicating that, you know, this is energy left from that new moon that we had in Virgo a week or two ago. And of course, the 31st, which I don't think this week covers. I don't even know what the date is right now. What is it? It's the 24th. So literally at the end of this reading, in a week's time, we will have the full moon in Taurus, which is the blue moon, and it is a very, very potent full moon. A culmination of perhaps the entire potentiality of the year. So it stands to reason that we'll have been in this energy as we move towards that full moon, because basically, as we've discussed before, this is the push and pull, the tug of war between the tamed, grounded energy of the hound and the insanity of the wolf, the wild aspect. And these are this is duality that exists within us that tears us apart, that we have clearly been very affected by in our healing process. Of course, where does that lead us to? The Chariot, clarified by the devil. Now, the Chariot is that journey of the conscious and unconscious mind, of integration of the duality. And, you know, the divine feminine comes in and gives movement to the chariot. The fact that it's clarified by the devil is speaking to exactly what this integration of the shadow self was all about. And we had the devil last week heavily featured in our messages, and this probably speaks to the fact that that is essentially what all of us have been working on. That is that poverty consciousness, the integration of the triggers of poverty consciousness that we then in turn we integrate the shadow self. And part of that is by embracing our vulnerability, right? Because there is so much strength in vulnerability, acknowledging our dark essence as an integral part of who we are empowers us subsequently to evolve and grow into whole beings. Spiritually, I mean, we have to integrate those things. Then this moves us into the King of Cups, and I didn't even take a clarifier on this, because actually the deck didn't want to give me a clarifier on it, and that is probably because the King of Cups is really a state of mind. The authority that we then have over our emotions allows us to rule over our own domain, and subsequently weather any turbulence in the subconscious mind, but also in the subconscious behaviors of those around us. So the victory is in transcending as opposed to circumventing, right? I mean, this king is in the surrounded by the turmoil, and he sits with authority and abundance, emotional abundance, in direct, I don't want to say confrontation, but in direct communion with the with his or her environment. It's basically a state of mind that then informs the way that we integrate every aspect of our lives outside of ourselves, because we're so balanced on the inside that we are not affected negatively. We see the potential in everything that we experience. That moves us into our present energy. King of Wands, coming in strong and hard there with a fully integrated sense of inspired, directed, streamlined self-awareness, self-confidence, ownership of our creative drive, of the things that inspire us in life. Like, think about that. You probably haven't thought consciously about it because these things are so incrementally microscopic, but you probably have a clear understanding of what makes you happy now. What are the things that drive you forward in life? What are the things that you are inspired to create in your life? I bet you have a much stronger understanding of those things as a result of recent energies. Excuse me, because I'm going to close the window. Much better. Unfortunately, you saw me looking as though I was about to step into a dance aerobics class with some kind of, well, I'm looking very gay right now. I'm owning it. Because that's who I am. Faggy as fuck. Okay. That also, these kings, they did not get clarifiers because they really speak for themselves. As I said, their states of mind, they really, they're directives in our lives. They are the catalyzing energy that carries us through. And when we're in king energy, obviously that's mastery, But of course, when you master something, as we did in this recent past with the King of Cups, we have to move into new opportunities of expansion. So we get the Ace of Cups. Now, the Ace of Cups wasn't really clarified by a card as much as it had a transitional card to the next card. I don't know how to explain the difference to you exactly, but it's more like you get the gift of the Ace of Cups, which I think may have come up in our last week's reading. So that comes in as some form of opportunity. It's the opportunity to refill our cup with something new that is going to bring a new understanding of our emotions, a new understanding of our evolutionary process spiritually and emotionally in our microcosmic existences. And when you have an ace, it's fresh and new, but it's also undetermined. So it's for us to determine what we put in that cup. And the Two of Pentacles was our transitional card to explain where that leads us to, because I think what we're going to find is that as these new changes take place in our lives, as we start to externalize our process more, we are going to have to struggle with the integration of our spiritual practices with the pragmatic nature of existence as our world evolves forward, and that integration can lead to some difficult energies, which is why we also have in our near future present these two cards, the Five of Wands and the Five of Swords. Now, I wouldn't want to characterize these as the negative, low vibrational energy that they can represent, because really what this is, okay, think about it. If you've been isolated and you've been doing all this inner work and then you externalize it and you're in that position where you're juggling to integrate your spirituality into your pragmatic life, you find yourself in Five of Wands energy, which is you want to go out into the world and kind of show the world who you are and what all of these changes represent and how they define you, and you're going to come across new situations that before you would have handled differently before having done all of that shadow work. So that can cause a sense of competitiveness, certainly a sense of having your boundaries tossed in the air and you having to sort of figure out how you're going to defend those, or how you're going to reinforce them, should I say, rather than defend them. Defending them would be the lower vibrational aspiration. Reinforcing them, as we've discussed many times before with quiet boundaries, is a way more productive way of affirming and at the same time allowing for vulnerability in our field. And the reason I think we got the Five of Swords as the clarifier on that is because it's really reminding us of where not to go, because the egoic fight for defining oneself externally needs to be handled with the grace of quiet boundaries and not competitiveness. Because when we accept the value of vulnerability, competition is not conducive with that energy flow at all. So my suggestion is that you take into consideration that this is likely to be more like an underlying hidden trigger, particularly as we're moving out of Mercury retrograde, because, and Mars retrograde, because this is all of that communication and action that is sort of been not so much regressive as internalized. So we have to be very cautious about how we reintegrate our path externally, because we don't want to be in the position where we repeat past shortcomings in our communication skills, in the way that we define ourselves in the outside world, in the way that we define ourselves to other people. So basically, remember that in the week ahead. Competition, not what you want to be focused on, unless it's with yourself. Moving into our future energies, we have the Four of Wands, very nice that we have this idea of setting some form of foundation for ourselves as we externalize these energies, clarified by the Osho card of abundance, which I will read from once we've gotten through our future row, because I took nothing but Osho Zen cards to clarify the Rider-Waite. Then we have the Four of Swords, which is the card of rest. There's a strong emphasis on being mindful of the fact that as we externalize and as we gain momentum, and as we are also encouraging vulnerability within ourselves, that we also have to practice self-care. Otherwise, we get run down, and potentially our immune system can be compromised, or our mental health can be compromised. So what we've learned is to be in that energy, right? And these cards explain that very well, because there were two clarifiers came out: healing and patience. Patience is also, it implies that we are contemplative of our process and the new aspects coming into our lives. That we have to sort of weigh the pros and cons so that we know how to navigate that path forward. And I mean, healing speaks for itself, because that's really what that is. Yes, it's rest and relaxation and balance, but it's also, most importantly, probably in this context, about taking the integrated aspects of our healing journey and using them as a practice as we reintegrate, however that's manifesting in your life. What do we have next? We have the Ten of Cups. I'm very sorry about that vacuuming sound in the background. It really does seem that there's certain people in my environment that are determined to never respect my video recording. But I'm not going to be bothered by it, because why would I be? You'll just hear it in the background and know that I'm slightly distracted by it. But again, in accepting vulnerability, we then understand in turn that others carry those same vulnerabilities, and they might not be in control of how they manifest. They just are. So we find forgiveness and mindfulness in the way that we handle other people. And honestly, it's true that a few weeks ago I'd have been having a conniption on camera, right? So calm. I'm just so calm right now. Probably because I'm brain dead. Okay, so the Ten of Cups is, of course, a crowning of some form of emotional journey. It's being rewarded in fullness for that. And the fact that we go from, in our present, a Ace of Cups to a Ten of Cups in our near future means that, we're not talking about some kind of giant evolutionary process. We're probably talking about simply experiencing the full array of our positive emotional spectrum in our journey, that in turn is clarified. I don't know why 3 cards came out. It's very strange because it happened several times that 3 cards came out together, but I guess they sort of speak for themselves, because you've got rebirth, which is the Ten of Cups. So Ten of Cups clarified by the Ten of Cups. You have the Source, which reminds us of our flow and how that keeps us in that energy. And breakthrough. Again, that image speaks for itself. I'm going to read the Abundance card and maybe I'll read the Breakthrough card for you. So let's start with Abundance. I should have looked these things up, I suppose, but again, I was not particularly organized today, and this will be a slightly different flow in this video compared to last week's. Page 72, Abundance. Oh, here we go. Would you like to see the card? Okay, here we go. In the East, people have condemned the body, condemned matter, called matter illusory, Maya. It does not really exist. It only appears to exist. It is made of the same stuff as dreams are made of. They denied the world, and that is the reason for the East remaining poor, sick, and in starvation. Half of humanity has been accepting the inner world but denying the outer world. The other half of humanity has been accepting the material world and denying the inner world. Both are half, and no man who is half can be contented. You have to be whole, rich in the body, rich in science, rich in meditation, rich in consciousness. Only a whole person is a holy person, according to me. I want Zorba and Buddha to meet together. Zorba alone is hollow. His dance has not an eternal significance. It is momentary pleasure. Soon he will be tired of it. Unless you have inexhaustible sources available to you from the cosmos itself, unless you become existential, you cannot become whole. This is my contribution to humanity. The whole person. So that's interesting because of the fact that we had that depicted at the center of our reading in these cards, right? Because this is the opportunity and this is the material world notion of juggling in order to follow the chaotic flow of how the subconscious mind seeks to find balance. So that's pretty much what that speaks to, and so something to take into consideration, that abundance is something essentially that is about balance, not too much of something or an overflow of something, right? And what else did I say I was going to read? Breakthrough. I have no idea what that card is. Let's see. Breakthrough, breakthrough, breakthrough. I mean, these messages really do flow, but I apologize this week for not being more, for not infusing everything with the same type of enthusiasm and insight that I might normally. But look, 38 minutes and we're almost finished, so you'll have extra time to pick your noses. Breakthrough. Oh, would you like to look at that while I read? There you go. To transform breakdowns into breakthroughs is the whole function of a master. Remember, we got 2 kings, well, 3, because abundance is the King of Pentacles. So 3 kings, so 3 cards of mastery. It's pretty good. Let me focus. Okay. The psychotherapist simply patches you up. That is his function. He is not there to transform you. You need a metapsychology, the psychology of the Buddhas. It is the greatest adventure in life to go through a breakdown consciously. It is the greatest risk because there is no guarantee that the breakdown will become a breakthrough. It does become, but these things cannot be guaranteed. Your chaos is very ancient. For many, many lives you have been in chaos. It is thick and dense. It is almost a universe in itself. So when you enter into it with your small capacity, of course there is danger. But without facing this danger, nobody has ever become integrated. Nobody has ever become an individual, indivisible. Zen or meditation is the method with which will help you to go through the chaos, through the dark night of the soul, balanced, disciplined, and alert. The dawn is not far away, but before you can reach the dawn, the dark night has to be passed through. And as the dawn comes closer, the night will be darker. So I'm going to have to read more. I'm sorry. You can tune out now if you want, but I'm going to actually read the source and rebirth for you, because the process of this Ten of Cups that we're seeing in our future is actually in this order. First comes the breakthrough. That's what we've been doing this whole time for the last, well, for some of us a decade, for some of us 6 months, for some of us 2 years. It depends on your journey. But this is the big chunk of work that we've been doing, which leads us to source, to the understanding of the power of oneness. And subsequently then we have integrated our subconscious shadow self, and we move out into the world for rebirth. So let's read the source and rebirth. The source, where the hell is the source? I shouldn't be saying that because we know what the source is. But when we are crazy, like I feel right now, where the hell is the source? Why can't I find it? What is that? I guess it's the Ace of Fire, Ace of Wands. Okay, so that's the Ace of Wands. Okay, so page 98. Don't laugh at me. I'm discombobulated. Zen asks you to come out of the head and go to the basic source. It is not that Zen is not aware of the uses of energy in the head, but if all the energy is used in the head, you will never become aware of your eternity. You will never know as an experience what is to be one with the whole. When the energy is just at the center, pulsating, when it is not moving anywhere, neither in the head nor in the heart, but it is at the very source from where the heart takes it, the head takes it, pulsating at the same source. That is the very meaning of Zazen. Zazen means just sitting at the very source, not moving anywhere. A tremendous force arises, a transformation of energy into light and love, into greater life, into compassion, into creativity, and I'd say into self-acceptance, and therefore acceptance of those around us. It can take many forms, but first you have to learn how to be at the source. Then the source will decide where your potential is. You can relax at the source, and it will take you to your very potential. So this is trusting in the divine plan, right? This is surrender. This is acceptance, non-resistance. So the breakthrough leads to that, and then in turn it leads to rebirth, which is the 10 of Cups. As we said, we've got the 10 of Cups and the 10 of Cups. So what does the 10 of Cups have to say? 138. Oh, this is difficult. Here we go. That's not the 10 of Cups. That's totally not the Ten of Cups. Oh, because I'm not even looking at the right thing. Oh, here we go. 136. I swear, I won't be like this next week. It's because I burned my candle at both ends, in all frankness. Not from indulgence, because I don't indulge, but from just not streamlining my activity. In Zen, you are coming from nowhere, and you are going to nowhere. You are just now here, neither coming nor going. Everywhere passes by you. Your consciousness reflects it, but it does not get identified. When a lion roars in front of a mirror, do you think the mirror roars? Or when the lion is gone and a child comes dancing, the mirror completely forgets about the lion and starts dancing with the child. Do you think the mirror dances with the child? The mirror does nothing, it simply reflects. Your consciousness is only a mirror. Neither do you come nor do you go. Things come and go. You become young, you become old, you are alive, you are dead. All these states are simply reflections in an eternal pool of consciousness. So, of course, as we move into new situations informed by new levels of consciousness and self-awareness and integration, we naturally have new mirrors. And for most of us, that's exciting and a good thing. For some, it's a thing of dread. Which one are you going to experience? I'll leave you with that. I love you. Peace. Have a fantastic week. Namaste.